Hey everybody, RHINO here, the world's strongest pro bodybuilder, and inventor of the cooler, the world's only cooler. Keeps your pre, intra, and post-workout drinks all together inside one ice-cold container. Okay, now bear with me for a minute, because I'm going to talk about a personal experience that I had recently with an extremely important hormone that I think almost everyone should be taking. You're going to feel a bit of a bait and switch here, but hear me out, because there's an important hormone that's actually a steroid, which I believe has wrongly been labeled as a vitamin. Now, I'm not a big supplement guy. You've never once heard me extol the virtues of a protein powder or pre-workout, and I've never suggested mega-dosing vitamins. I'm a big believer when it comes to supplementing this particular hormone, and that hormone is vitamin D. And I've always said I believe in eating your food first and foremost. The challenge with vitamin D is that it's not in too many foods. If you're a clean eater, you're probably not eating many vitamin D fortified foods like cereal and milk. Now, vitamin D can be found in fatty fish like salmon, sardines, and cod liver oil, but it's not likely you're eating enough of those to satisfy your requirements. Vitamin D is primarily synthesized by the skin through sun exposure. Now, I'm from Oregon, and I lived in Seattle for 15 years, and there's a high incidence of depression and suicide, presumed to be due to a lack of sun exposure, because of the often overcast and rainy weather. So I've always supplemented vitamin D, which is why I was so surprised about the story I want to share with you. Vitamin D helps improve absorption of many important minerals, such as calcium and iron, magnesium and zinc. So if you're supplementing any of those, vitamin D is a must. Vitamin D also helps your immune system fight off infections. So here's my vitamin D story. Last fall and into the winter, I started feeling tired and weak. I wasn't waking up energized, and I wasn't recovering very fast from workouts. And the weight started feeling heavy on my body, almost like my bones were aching. And it just so happens I was randomly reading some health articles, as I typically do, and I came across a vitamin D article. It was describing these symptoms. And I didn't really think anything of it, because I've always been a believer in vitamin D. I've been taking 4,000 IUs a day, off and on for years. I also drink milk, and I eat whole-fat Greek yogurt, and I live in Las Vegas, so vitamin D deficiency was the furthest thing from my mind. I've attached the article if you want to read it, but one of the symptoms the article mentioned was a sweaty head. Now, the article said doctors used to ask new mothers if they were experiencing a sweaty head to identify vitamin D deficiency. And one of the symptoms of rickets is a sweaty head. Oddly enough, I was experiencing this problem, and I hadn't thought much of it until I read the article. And it all came together. I must be vitamin D deficient. So I immediately ordered my usual blood test. This time, I added a vitamin D test to it. If you listen to my last rant, you know how important blood tests are to me. And I've been ordering blood tests online through private MD labs for many years. There's two types of vitamin D tests. Be sure to order the vitamin D25 hydroxy test. It measures the amount of vitamin D in the bloodstream. Well, a few days later, I got the results, and the normal range for vitamin D was 30 to 100, and I was at 30. Now, vitamin D deficiency is what causes rickets, weak muscles, weak bones, and that's why the federal government implemented fortification of some foods with vitamin D. It's also why you may remember those old commercials where kids would take a spoonful of cod liver oil daily to prevent rickets. Now, when I saw the results, I immediately increased my vitamin D to 8,000 IUs a day. And a month later, I got another test, and I was at 36. Now, mind you, vitamin D deficiency can take weeks or even months to rectify. So I knew this wouldn't be cured overnight, and I kept at it. And again, I increased my vitamin D intake, this time to 10,000 IUs a day. Now, a month later, my levels went up to 46. So I increased my vitamin D to 12,000 IUs a day. And 30 days later, my levels had gone up to 60. Now, during this time, my energy levels drastically improved. I wasn't waking up tired anymore. I was recovering from my workouts, and my bones and muscles stopped aching, and I was getting stronger again. But that's not all that happened. Check this out. I'd been struggling with a hemoglobin A1C levels for years, and that's a marker for type 2 diabetes. I'd been teetering right on the border of high normal, which is a 5.6, and the bottom of the pre-diabetic range, which is a 5.7. I followed these numbers for years in my blood work, and it hasn't budged. I've tried many things to try and bring it down without any success. I've tried no carbs for 6 weeks while I walked every morning. I got my weight down to almost 240. It didn't budge. I tried metformin, a type 2 diabetes medication, and it didn't budge. Even though I haven't used growth hormone in years, I just figured I'd wrecked my insulin sensitivity because I used HGH off and on when I was competing. And HGH is known to cause insulin resistance. So here's the kicker. As my vitamin D levels went up, 30 to 36 to 46 to 60, my hemoglobin A1C levels went down. 5.6, 5.5, 5.4, 5.3. I'd become insulin sensitive again. I can eat carbs again and I don't feel tired. My blood sugars don't go through the roof and stay elevated as long. The insulin sensitivity is what helps me recover faster from workouts, gives me more energy. There's plenty of research showing an inverse relationship between vitamin D levels and type 2 diabetes. But to experience it the way I did was an eye-opener. So I discussed these results with a few different HRT doctors I stay in touch with. And they all say the vast majority of their clients are low in vitamin D, and it's common for them to administer vitamin D injections as part of their therapy. I just figured I was good because I was already taking 4,000 IUs a day, and clearly that wasn't the case. So hopefully the takeaway here is again to first get a blood test and then jack up that vitamin D3 intake and consider all the things that may improve as a result. Now vitamin D3 is very inexpensive. You can pick it up, a 3-month supply at Costco for less than $10. And Consumer Reports has rated the Kirkland brand to be very high quality. If you don't need a full blood test, you can just order the vitamin D test for about $50. Now those of you who saw my rant about blood tests know that you can go to my website, stanefferding.com, click on blood tests, and you'll be taken directly to privatemdlabs.com. You can order all your own tests online. You can use RHINO as a discount code to get 15% off your tests. Well, that's my rant, and as always, thanks for listening.